Welcome back. We're working on Gem Wars today. We're going to do two things right now. The first is that we're going to be moving our rewards to the back end for calculation. Right now it's being done on the server side, on the client side, which we can't have for the multiplayer game. And then we also need to add our computer purchasing logic to the server so that way when the AI is determining movements for the when the server is determining movements for the AI, it will also purchase available pieces. So one thing that I've done since the last time I streamed is this is the backend project here. And you can see that I've got my identity server, my TCP server, and my web API, right? As well as my supporting DLLs. And this here is the Unity project. I brought all this in a base, what do I want to call it? I brought all this stuff in with a base solution file. So that way, I am now using this same library file with these requests, DTOs, and view models inside of the Unity project. And so this will allow us to only create the logic one time for our games. The way that we have this done is that this PHS Gem Wars lib is outputting to the assets, plugins, PHS lib folder inside of the Unity project. And every time we build it, it will now update here accordingly. Okay, so when I look at my front end, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to move our rewards over. So let me play the game here and start the back end. Okay, backend is started. So now when I start the game, you can see everything is loaded. And I can do a practice versus AI. This will retrieve the game off of the server. And then these initial calls here, get ready, get set, play. These are all coming off of the server as well. And you'll be able to see the AI is making movements on the board. You can see the hand numbers is dropping. Although what's interesting is that first piece that he plays doesn't seem to adjust the hand limit correctly. Let me check one more time. And when we click practice, the hand is 3. When he plays the first piece, it doesn't update the hand limit. But it does fine after it refreshes, so we'll look at that in a little bit. But right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my purchase logic over to the server. So if I look at the Gem Wars project, I currently have this logic already written out here for calculate awards. We're going to move that over. So if I open up the back end here, and what I want to do is in my business logic layer, I want to have a new function called calculate rewards inside of an action. So in here, I'm going to have a public virtual, we'll do a protected virtual, and we'll do this for a reward SO array, which is scriptable objects. And then I want to do a calculate rewards. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I want to have a list of rewards. that we're going to fill. And now what I want to do is I want to get my line rewards. So if I look at my reward SOs in my entities, instances, reward lines instance, that's the one that we want. And if I look at my library, I have no VM for this yet. And my DTO has a reward lines instance DTO, which is a reward which has the reward SOID, our action, and the reward type. So back over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this new, just a second, action called a var action, no, it's called I think we want a line reward is await my context. So in calculate awards, if I go back to my, let's pass it in here as an application database context. Because I have a context.rewards, this needs to be a asynchronous task called calculates awards async. And then I want to do a context dot reward line SOs dot first or default asynchronous, and I want to get the one where my number of lines is equal to my lines dot length and it's active. Now, before I go any further, if I look here at my scriptable objects for lines, reward lines, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 available lines. You can't ever have more than 5 lines at one time. Is that correct? Because each piece has a maximum of 4 pieces, and then the other line would be for the vertical. So here what we're going to say is if my line reward is equal to null, then I want to do a var max lines count equals await context dot reward lines SOs, and we want to do the max asynchronous of my number lines. And I want to do this where my X is active. Like that. And then I can do my line reward equals await context dot rewards lines SOs dot first or default asynchronous, where my number of lines equals max line count and it's active. Okay, so this is the reward for the number of lines completed. Okay. And here I want to do a rewards.addMyLineAward. Now the next thing when I look at my reward instance, we're going to create that in just a minute. And so now here, I want to do, this is for block gems. So we're going to have block colors equals a new dictionary of my block color and a integer. And then we also want to have the, we'll do the next one in a minute. So what I want to do is for I goes to my enum, and we want to get the length of block color. I want to do block colors.add a block color of I, and then we want to also have an I++. Nope, we just want to have it as a 0. So this is going to be, this is for the count of block color rewards. And then what I want to do is I want to do a for each var line in line, like that. I want to do a block colors of my block color of I. And we want to add that to my line.get number blocks by color of my block color of I. And this is for the count of gems, okay? So for this one, it's very similar. We're going to do a var gem types equals a new list of gem type and an integer. And then for int I goes to my enum.get names of my type of gem type length. I want to do gem types dot add my gem type of I at 0. And then for each one of my lines in lines, I want to do a gem types of my gem type of I is plus equals to my line.get gems by type, which is a gem type of I dot length. This is a dictionary. Okay. And so now what I want to do is calculate rewards for block color for number of block colors. So in this one, we're going to do for each var block color in block colors. And I can move all this up here. And this time what I want to do is I want to get a var reward color is a for each var block colors where my x dot value is greater than 0. This is going to be an await context dot rewards colors SOs. And we want to get the first or default where my quantity colors is equal to my block color dot value, and it's active. Now, this reward color needs to have a tier type associated to it. So what you're going to do is I need to pass in here a game BLL called game. Game.tiers.first or default. My block color is equal to my block color.key. And you want to get the tier type. Hey there, Disco TV. How are you doing? Welcome to the channel. I appreciate the compliment there on the typing speed. If you have any questions what I'm working on, please don't hesitate to pop them into the chat. Okay, so now that we have our tier type and we have that our reward color, what I need to do is calculate this. Now, all of these are being done with entities. So if I look at my action play piece BLL, you're probably going to want to make some kind of reward BLL here. So if I look at my entities one more time, when I look at my DTOs, I do have these. So back over in the app, I want to say if my block colors of block color of I dot value is greater than 0, then we're going to do this here. And now what I want to do is like that. And now what I need to do is calculate the number of points on this reward. So this reward SO, we're going to call this a reward BLL. Or do we just want to do a reward VM? Let me see if I can do that. You don't have one of those made either. So let's first make a new reward VM. Yeah, good. Thanks, dude. You? I'm doing great today. Happy to get cranking on the multiplayer on this game. Get moving. Hey, Onion Surfer, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. Unfortunately, I don't have a bot running at the moment. I apologize about that. I have one. It's just not running at the moment. Okay, so this is a reward VM. And when I look up here at this is what I want. On my reward VM, we're going to have a couple of things. The first one is I want to have this as a base VM. And then I want to have a type of reward DTO. Called reward instance DTO. I'm going to call this my reward. Okay. That's going to include the reward type. We also have this action drawer play piece, which I don't really care about too much. Action drawer play piece DTO. And then that's it here. We don't want to mark this abstract because we do want to have on here a reward type called reward type. Okay. And on this, I want to have a what? Function called public abstract int get points. We'll just leave it like that. And now we need to make another one of these called a reward color instance VM. So just reward color VM. Which is going to pass in a type of reward color instance DTO. So when I look at my, here we're going to have a public int points. And what I want to do is I want to return here my points reward SOID is here. points. And that's actually on the SO, so I don't need to worry about that. And since this is a view model, we don't have points on this one. So it's just that. So we have a reward color, a reward gem VM, like this. In my DTOs, it's gems plural. And then the next one is we want to have the lines, right? Which doesn't have anything, so it's the same thing. Reward we're going to call this gems, reward colors, and reward lines VM. Hey there, Unbeg BT83. Hi, for us, would it be nice if you can zoom your code 1.n? Sure. Is that a little better? Okay, this is reward lines VM and reward lines instance DTO. Okay, now that we have that done, I need to have my BLLs up here. So we have a reward BLL. And this needs to be an abstract. Where my T is a type of reward instance DTO. And we're going to have here this reward DTO. I want to have a type of S on here, which is where my S is a reward SO. So an S reward SO. This is a type of BLL, and I want to pass in here a reward and a reward SO. Much better. Perhaps my eyes are the problem. Maybe. Don't worry about it. My monitor makes it a little bit harder to see. Reward DTO here, and then my reward SO is a reward SO. Now, this SO should tell me the number of lines. But what I also want to have here is I want to have a points called get points. And we'll just make that abstract. And so now I need to have another one of these called reward colors BLL. And this one's going to have a type of reward colors instance DTO and a reward color SO. And this is now an override, like that. We need to have a constructor like that, okay? So when I look at my reward colors BLL, I need to have a tier type, which is being established in here. So we're going to add a tier type and have this as a protected read-only tier type. And so what you're going to do here is these points are just going to be your reward SO dot points times my integer of my tier type. Okay. We're also going to have another one for gems. Like that. And now with gems, slightly different. That one is a we have two other properties on here. Quantity gems and point modifiers on my SO. So here we're going to say protected float called point modifier. And what I want to do here is I want to say my point modifier. We're going to say var modifier is my reward SO dot modifier plus my integer of my tier type. And then I want to return, I want to say point modifier is a modifier less than 1. Then I just want it to be 1F, otherwise I want it to be modifier. I'm going to do the same thing over here. We want to have a float. Well, if I look at this, there's no random here. So my next is my gem types. Now my get points here if I look, we're going to look over here for a second. This is the front end only. Rewards are being calculated up there. This is your floating text. c.points is greater than 0, which is calculated in reward colors, so I didn't want that one. I wanted reward gems. Point modifier. So here we're going to have a public int points, which is just going to be a this times my tier type. And this needs to be a float. I want this to be an int, and in this I can do a mathf dot, hey there, unbega bt, 83, how are you doing? Welcome to the channel. It's good to have you with us. If you haven't joined our Discord, make sure you do discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. I also put all these videos up at youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com, so make sure you check those out. Thanks again, man. So this is just math dot ceiling to int of this as a integer. And so to make things consistent on the front end, I'm going to change this to just be called points. And we want to make this an integer. And this needs to be a mathf dot ceiling to int of this. Okay. We have one more called reward lines BLL, which is a reward lines instance DTO or something like that, and then a reward lines SO. And when I look at this one, it's only going to have a number of points on it, and that's it. So this is return my reward so.points. Like that. So those are our 3 DTOs. Now, reward this needs to be a generic. And we need to have one more here called a reward BLL. Which is a base BLL. And then this is a reward BLL. And then we also want to have this get points as a abstract. Okay. Now that we've got those all created, we can use them. So Back over here in action, this is going to be a reward BLL array. This is going to be a new reward lines BLL, which is a line reward We'll just make a new one of these for a second. And then also my reward lines SO, which is this. Okay, when I look at this thing, it's going to have an action drawer play piece ID. The ID is a good.newGood, of course. Let me go back, because where this is being instantiated, looks like you're doing it here. And not passing it in. Which means I can get rid of it. Oh, shoot. Or did I just make that change? So it was on your board BLL. You're calculating this and passing your lines. So over where this is being called, this is only returning lines. That's what it is. Which means that this one does need to, in fact, calculate this action right here. And then this is it here. So let's move this over here. And you want to do a action drawer play piece DTO. .id. Our object type is going to be a reward instance Reward SOID is line reward dot ID. Reward type is lines, and timestamp we don't have to worry about. Now this one needs to come from the database. So when I create this play piece asynchronous here, this doesn't even calculate lines or number of points. So here what you want to do is a calculate lines here, right? So I'm going to move this down to here. And you are creating your lines asynchronously here. And this is going to be now a your piece is a what? Piece instance. And these are called line instances. This isn't right. We don't want calculate lines. We want if we go back here to the game manager, you're getting your lines from your calculation. Then you're creating them. These are line BLLs which are coming back, which is what we want. Now when you create lines here, you want to have this returning your rewards. This is a reward VM. So down here are my reward VMs. I need to make one more called a reward generic VM. like that. And then like that. And then a like that. One there, and one there. Interesting. So it's not finding reward VM here, which is really bizarre. And this needs to be a reward VM array. Like that. Why won't it find reward VM? Okay, let's just close the solution and reopen it. Whoops, wrong one. I gotta turn on this air conditioner. I'm so sorry about that. I'll turn this mic off though, so that way it's not too loud. Still not finding it. Yeah, it's not even finding it in the... I'm going to copy these out. And then do this. We're going to now add a new class in here called reward VM. What the hell is wrong here? It says that this doesn't have a reference to the library project. But that doesn't make sense because this is the library project. Well, whatever. That was the problem. So weird. And then we're going to call this one a reward VM, which is a base VM. And I want to bring in action, play, piece, DTO, action drawer, play, piece, and then a reward type. So currently I was putting my rewards in this BLL thing over here. This one. And I'm going to move this over here because I want this to be a... Now I'm going to calculate my rewards, which is a VM. And then I'm going to calculate my line rewards. This is for rewards. Okay. And then down here, this VM, we're going to add a new reward VM, which is a reward lines VM, which has got this action in it, the reward in it, and the VM type, which is rewards. And the reward is lines. Now this is a DTO. So what you want to do here is you want to have a line reward instance equals a new reward instance, which is of type lines. And in this, we're going to have my drawer play piece ID equals so up here we want to have action drawer play piece DTO. Okay. The ID is a GUID.NewGUID, of course. The reward SO equals line reward.id. The reward type is a lines. And that's it. And then I do a context.add my line reward instance. Now this one is going to be this action draw play piece. My reward is a mapper.map to a reward lines instance DTO of my line reward instance. And that's that. So this one here is our next. This is for the count of block color rewards. When I calculate my AI movement event, you're calculating your positions here. And this is the same thing, except not in the database. This one is in the database. So we're just going to do this as a reward VM, call it rewards. So all you're going to do is a for each var reward and rewards. I want to switch on my reward type. We want to say case reward lines VM. We want to have a case reward colors VM, and then a case reward gems VM. You're going to have a new list of rewards here. You don't need those. And all you want to do is you want to say context.add new reward line instance. And my play piece is my playpiece.id. My ID is my c.dto, which is reward.id, reward SOID. And then we want to have my ID equals c.reward.id. And my reward type equals lines. That's it. Okay, this next one is the same thing but for colors. Your tier type is tier type. And your block color here is c.reward.block color. And for the last one, we want to have a context.add new reward gems instance, which is the action drawer piece equals action drawer piece.id. The reward SOID equals c.reward.SOID. The gem equals c.reward.gem type. ID is c.reward.id. Reward tier type equals c.reward.tier type. Reward type equals reward type.gems. And your ID equals c.reward.id. And that should be it. So now when you create your lines, it's actually up here. So if I look at my interface, we're going to give this a rewards VM, like that. It's this one. So back over here, where I'm checking to see if it can be placed on the board and I'm simulating these line checks, when I create my action play BLL, this is where I want to calculate rewards. Like that. And now back here, so down here is I have my tier type, I have my reward color, and then I want to do a rewards.add new reward colors BLL, and we're going to pass in my this is a reward color SO, and this is my tier type. So the only one I'm missing here is this reward color instance DTO. And it looks like I'm creating it. So this is my action drawer play piece.id. My block color is my block color of I. My object type is a reward instance. Thank you so much there, Unbeg BT83. How are you? It's good to see you. Good for keep commenting, man. It's good to have some chat coming along while we do this work. GUID.new GUID. And then we have the reward SO ID, which is reward color.id. The reward type is colors. The tier type is tier type, and my timestamp. So it appears then, and on this one I can dump tier type. Reward DTO.tier type. And now for the last one is we get all of the different gems. And then for the same thing, if my gem types of my I of gem type is greater than 0, this is going to be a reward gems. And we want to get the one where the quantity gems equals this. And this is going to be the one where the gem type is equal to my gem type of I. And this is reward gem instance. We don't need tier type anymore. This is gem type. And that's it. And then finally we return my rewards.toArray. So we've got that done in the BLL now for calculating rewards. So when you create this, you're going to create this, and you're going to have your protected reward BLL called rewards. And we're going to pass in here my game, my action drawer piece, and then my context. We're actually just going to do a using var context equals new application database context like that, which is going to need a protected read-only globals called globals. Like that. Okay. So in your generic, when you do this, this is going to create your action BLL. Then here I can say rewards is equal to action dot calculate awards. That's a DTO. That's not the BLL, so you want this one. And you're going to pass in here your game. And your action. Create lines doesn't return anything, but you're going to pass over your rewards. Now, when I look at this implementation of create lines, this can just be a reward DTO, reward instance DTO. And so this is a reward lines instance DTO. And this is reward colors instance via DTO. And then this is a reward gems instance DTO. And then this is an action drawer playpiece.id. And that's it. Now, in this, it needs to be a reward DTO. And this, we need to select my reward. If I look at my reward BLL, this doesn't know what I'm in. So I'm going to pull this one. Like that. And in this one, I'm going to make this a reward DTO. And we also want to have a private set on this. And then we want to have the constructor, which is going to pass in a reward instance DTO called reward DTO. Okay. Like that. Now, when I look at this function, I want to have one more in here. With my points. Like that. And this one. And now that we have that, it looks like I have points already here. And what you also need to have is, for each var reward in rewards, and we're going to look at where this is referenced in match player board. And this is just going to be called points. So now here, I want to say if my rewards is not equal to null, then for each one of these, I want to do a switch on the reward type. So if it's a reward lines BLL, rewards colors BLL, and reward gems BLL. Can't you just do a points plus equals to reward dot get points? And that's not true. You do want this. You want to have these two here. And then this one is my modifier times equals my C dot points. So this needs to be cast as a reward gems instance DTO. And then if I look at this one, this is gone, so this is just a points. And then the same thing on this one, which is just a points. And this needs to be a reward colors instance DTO. And that's it. So this will now calculate your rewards over here. And then when you pass them in to create lines, it's going to save them here. But you still don't have your play piece. So this. And you can do this anytime after the lines have been calculated. And this will be the whole number of points. Now, if I was to change this so that it's actually just returning an instance, because I don't have the number of lines done until this is done, this requires an action because it is adding it to this lines BLL. And this new line instance. So let me scrap this. and this one. And then we can do the same thing here. Public virtual void set action drawer play piece. Like this. And I could do action bll.set, my action. This can be action bll.points. When I look at this, action is being used to set the rewards. Like that. Hold on. So you're calculating the lines. You're making the action. You're calculating the rewards. You're now getting your action for each one of my lines here. I want to say public virtual void set action play piece. It's an action drawer play piece DTO. And all you're going to do is if you can type, action drawer play piece DTO. And all you're going to do here is your line DTO.action equals action drawer play piece.id. This is for each of our line and lines. We want to do a line.set action drawer piece to my action. And that's it. So you create your lines, you create your action, you calculate, you create the action DTO, you set them, calculate it, and then finally down here you have your create lines. My up timer didn't start. Okay, it says we got one issue, which is down here. It's called play piece or something like that. It's called create lines asynchronous. That doesn't pass anything. Hey, Fallen Hope, how are you doing? How's your night? What made it rough? Create lines async. Line VM for lines. Reward instance for rewards. Now you gotta add this in here. Action drawer play piece. And this one needs to be a action. That's it. Let me rebuild it. Just a second. Okay. And now it says that piece position doesn't have a score. So where this gets created, if you look at this drawer play piece PLL, this one has points. And up here, where we're passing this as a long, boom, 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 long, number of points. Cool. And then does that give me another error? Here, action, drawer, play piece, points needs to be a long. Now, what that does is I need to fix my errors and then update my database. Lines, piece, and globals. And this is in simulate, right? So up here we need to have a protected read-only iGlobals called globals. And then I want to pass in an iGlobals here, and then do a globals equals globals. Okay. Then this one, we need to pass in globals to it. And let's rebuild it. Okay, that's done. So let's close everything up. And we'll jump over to my Web API project. Set it as a startup project. Do an add. I do not know what is happening. What a piece of crap. Okay. The other errors that I had were none. So now I'll set this as my startup project. Go to my NuGet package manager. Okay. And now I'm going to do an add migration. We're going to say changed score to long on the Code First project. It says build failed, which doesn't make sense because I cleaned that. This needs to be globals. This needs to be globals. And now I'll do an update database. And so now we're going to start up all of our projects here, and we're going to test it. Okay, checking on the front end, it's logging in. Okay, we're logged in. We go to open play, and now what we want to see is if this calculates correctly. So when I play a piece, here we go, we're going to check it. Right here. So we're going to get our lines, which are none. We create our action. Now it says that it failed. Here at calculate reward. So we'll do it again. Sorry about that. Okay, give it another open play. This time when we look at our rewards, we're going to get the line rewards. Oh, if this does not equal to null. So that's the first error. And the second error comes from if my lines.length is greater than 0. We're going to say, so if there aren't any lines, then you want to return a new reward BLL array of 0. Let's restart it and try it again. So as soon as this works, then what we're going to do is we're going to change it. Why is that so far back? So that the front end is reading these rewards that we're calculating. So we go over here, we check it, we get our rewards, we calculate it, there's none. We get our action, we set it, we set our lines, we play the piece, and we go to the next one. So we'll do all of these pieces that we need to make a new board. This should give me a line. So this time, action is null, it says. And that makes sense because I don't set action till here. And so what you're going to do is you're going to go for each var reward in rewards. If my rewards does not equal to null. then you want to do a reward DTO dot action ID equals action.id. And then I can delete that from here, here, and here. Let's try it again. Okay, same thing. We're just going to make, as quick as we can, a line. Okay, this time we get our rewards. It says my reward gems are null. So here we want to say if my reward gems dot count length is not equal to null, then you want to create this. And then the same thing on this one. Let's try it again. Okay, there it is. We're going to go do a open play. Same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we look at our rewards. We received 3 rewards. Align color for 650 points. I don't think that's right. Yeah, it pulled this one. That's not right. And then the colors, 0 points, which is right. And that line should have only been 100 points. And then this one, your point modifier is 2. Your quantity of gems is 2. And that worked. So the issue was this one, when we got a line, and we look at this rewards lines, That looks right. Oh, it's because this is null. So now it should work correctly. Same deal. There we go. So now when I look at my rewards, we get I don't see any for my lines. Because it's like that. Last try. Okay, we're going to run this again. Same deal. And then here is our line. When we look at our rewards, we now have one reward worth 100 points, 0 points for the colors because they're all the same, and a point modifier of ×2, which I should see over here. I should see this go up by 200. Plus the points per the individual blocks. Right here. So when I look at my action, where did that go? One more, last try. Here, when I look at my number of points, It's at 5:30. So this should be at 6:40. No, 6:20. So that looks right. So it's being calculated correctly now. So I'm going to take a break. We'll be back in 18 minutes. When we come back, what we're going to do is we're going to add the response on the client side. So that way these rewards are being handled over there. And then so instead of it being calculated on the client, it's instead just getting it from the server here. These line VMs that I'm passing in here, if I look at those, they've got a line and a number of blocks with them, but they don't say anything about the score. So I think I need to do that here with actions. And finally, if I look at my front end for where these scores are being set, second, it's coming in, it's hitting the online. Down here, play piece. We add it to the drawer. Cool, we're using this to add it to the board now. Here, it's in this action, draw, play piece, actual, which is what you're calculating here. So this all needs to get changed out. So thanks for staying with me. Don't touch that dial. I'll see you guys in just 18 minutes. If you have any questions, it's a great time to put them into the chat. Also, you can check us out at our Discord, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. See you guys in just a little bit.